Hello everyone, I'm going to explain 5 technical questions from the CCNA exam. Let's start with the first question. The first question asks, when the active router in VRP fails, which router will take over the responsibility of forwarding data? This is very simple. When the active router encounters a problem after a failure occurs, it's definitely the backup router that takes over forwarding the traffic, right? So let's look directly at the correct answer and choose C. Alright, now let's move on to the second question. The second question asks, what operations does a router perform when forwarding data packets on a network? Actually, the answer to this one is a bit long, so I'll just tell you the correct answer is C. C says that when the router is sending well, the router at the sending end will take the source mark, set the source mark, then encapsulate it so that its own mark becomes the source mark, and use the neighbor's marcus, the neighbor's marcus, the destination mark, right? To replace the original, to replace the source and destination marks, correct? For example, let's say AA sends some data, and after it reaches B, how does B forward this data to C? So, after the first step where A sends it to B, what does B need to do next? What B needs to do is swap its own mark and the destination mark, right? Replace them with the marks for this segment, correct? That's the operation it performed. This kind of operation is performed when forwarding data, right? The source and destination, the source IP and destination IP remain unchanged. That doesn't change, but the source mark and destination mark will change. It's just like when we send a letter, right? I write a letter and give it to the mail carrier, and the mail carrier hands the letter over to a mail carrier in another region, and then that mail carrier delivers the letter to me. So in this process, the IP cannot change, it must remain the same. The mark, however, changes segment by segment. That is, the mark updates for each segment along the way. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is C. Let's look at the correct answer, C. Alright, question 3. The third question is a multiple choice question. This question again involves subnet calculation. It asks, in this routing table, which 2 prefixes are included? Looking at this routing table now, which 2 prefixes does it contain? Which 2 prefixes are included in this route? So, what does this one? 026 mean? What does 26 bits refer to? That means this subnet has a total of 255, actually, 256 addresses. If you split it once, it becomes 128 and 128, which means I've divided into a subnet that's 25 bits. So what about 26 bits? With 26 bits, I split it again, and it becomes 64, 64, 64, and 64. So each subnet contains 64 of these subnets, so that's 64 addresses. Now this rule matches, but this one doesn't match. Why doesn't this met? This 64 is the first segment of the network number. The first segment ranges from 0 to 63, which is 64 addresses, and the second segment is from 64 to 127, also 64 addresses, right? So what is this 64? It's a network number, so it doesn't match. The correct answers are A and B. Let's look at the correct answers, A and B. Alright, question 4 is very simple. Question 4 is a fixed parameter question. It asks, what is the mark of the VRP virtual device? We know that with VRP, 2 distinct routers are typically connected to a single network switch. So I have my own personal mark, right? I have my own mark. My own mark, this is a physical mark. Then I also have a V mark, and this virtual mark is a fixed value. The first 3 bytes here are a prefix specifically assigned by IEEE to IANA. It is assigned a fixed value, a fixed prefix. So what about the rest after that? It goes up to 0001. These 2 specific bytes clearly indicate that this is indeed a VRP protocol, and the final 01 precisely represents the VRID. So this is a fixed and predetermined parameter. The correct answer is definitively D. Let's carefully check the correct answer. It is indeed D. Alright, here is question number 5. Question 5 asks us, in a specific subnet, what is the purpose of the first hop redundancy protocol? The first hop redundancy protocol. As for the purpose, let's look at the first option. The first option says that the purpose is to send multicast hello packets between routers, but that's not what it's for. It's not meant to transmit multicast hello packets. So option A is incorrect. Now, the second option is to send the default route to the hosts of the router. This option is correct. The correct answer is this option. So why is the third option wrong? It says to ensure a loop-free physical topology, but it doesn't have this function. It can't guarantee that. The fourth option says to filter traffic based on the destination IP address, but it also doesn't have the function of filtering traffic. So this one is also wrong. Both C and D are incorrect. The correct answer is B. Let's look at the correct answer. Choose B. Alright, submit. Alright, if anyone wants to learn Cisco technologies or get access to the Cisco question bank, please send me a private message, or you can leave a comment below the video for technical discussions.